Have you ever seen a child change the life of a grown adult with nothing but a single act of kindness? Well, stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just change how you see the world, and maybe even change your life too. So grab a seat, open your heart, and by the time this story ends, you'll believe in the power of pure intentions, because fate has a way of rewarding the most unexpected heroes. And don't forget, if this story touches your heart, smash that like button and subscribe for more life-changing tales. It all began on a rainy Tuesday in a sleepy little town where life moved slow, the kind of place where everyone knew each other and secrets didn't last long. But there was one secret that had been walking the streets unnoticed, a man with sadness written all over his face, a man who looked like he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. He had no name, no direction, and for the people who passed him by, he might as well have been invisible. But not to her, not to little Lila. Lila was only 7, with big eyes full of wonder and a heart even bigger than her imagination. She wore a bright yellow raincoat 2 sizes too big and always carried a paper bag filled with homemade cookies, which her mom baked every morning before school. Lila would take those cookies and offer them to her classmates, the janitor, the bus driver, anyone who looked like they needed a little sweetness in their day. But this day was different. This day, fate had written a different chapter for her. As Lila stood under the bus stop awning, watching the cold rain pour down like the sky itself was crying, she spotted him. A man sitting on a bench nearby, soaked from head to toe, head bowed, shoulders trembling, not from the cold, but from something deeper. Sadness. Real, heavy sadness. While the world ignored him, Lila walked straight toward him, no hesitation, no fear, only empathy. She reached into her paper bag and pulled out the biggest cookie she had saved for herself. Then, without a word, she handed it to him, smiling with the kind of innocence that can break through even the hardest heart. The man looked up, stunned. His eyes were tired and hollow, but in that moment, something flickered in them. Not hope, not yet, but surprise. She didn't ask who he was, or why he was sitting there alone. She didn't care about his worn clothes or the fact that he hadn't shaved in weeks. She just said, "You look like you need this more than I do," and then turned to walk away. But something stopped her. She turned back around and asked, "Are you okay, mister?" And that's when he broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a single tear down his cheek. He nodded slowly, then whispered, "I used to have a daughter like you." Lila blinked, surprised. What happened to her? The man hesitated. "Life happened," he murmured. "I lost her, and everything else." Lila didn't fully understand what he meant, but she reached into her school bag and pulled out a small folded note. She always kept little notes with positive messages in them. Her mother had taught her that even words can be gifts. She handed him one. It read, "You matter. Even if the world forgets you, someone still sees you." He stared at the note for what felt like an eternity. Something changed in him that day, though neither he nor Lila knew it yet. That simple act of kindness, one cookie and one note, set off a chain of events neither of them could have imagined. But destiny has a funny way of weaving lives together. The man stood up slowly. He didn't say thank you. He didn't have to. The way he looked at Lila said everything. And then he walked away, vanishing into the rainy mist. Lila watched him disappear, holding the now empty paper bag, not knowing that she had just touched a life that was on the verge of giving up. Later that night, Lila told her mom about the man at the bench. Her mom smiled softly and kissed her forehead. "You never know what people are going through, honey," she said. "But you did a beautiful thing today." Days turned into weeks, and the man never came back to that bench. But something had changed in town. People were talking about a mysterious figure, someone quietly helping others behind the scenes. An anonymous donor paid the bills of a struggling single mother. Groceries appeared at the doorstep of a war veteran. A broken wheelchair was replaced overnight. No one knew who was behind it all. Except maybe, Lila. She had a feeling. A strong, childlike instinct that the sad stranger hadn't disappeared. He was still around, only now, he was healing, and helping others the way she had helped him. But who was he, really? That answer would come soon. And when it did, it would leave the entire town speechless, including Lila's family. Because fate doesn't just give, it reveals. And you, dear viewer, don't want to miss what happens next. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please like this video to spread the message of kindness. And don't forget to subscribe, because have you ever wondered if a moment of kindness could echo so far into the future that it changes someone's destiny entirely? Welcome back, dear viewer. In Chapter 1, a little girl named Lila gave her only cookie and a note to a sad, broken stranger. What she didn't know was that this one small act would spark a storm of kindness across the town, and eventually, unlock a secret that would shake her entire family to the core. Stick with me to the end, because you won't believe who the stranger truly was, and how his past was more connected to Lila than anyone could have imagined. So before we begin, tap that like button if you believe kindness still exists in this world, and subscribe for more true-hearted stories that will restore your faith in humanity. Weeks passed. Lila went back to her normal routine: school, cookies, stories with her mom, and her nightly ritual of drawing pictures of all the people she dreamed of helping someday. Her mother, a single parent working 2 jobs, always encouraged her to believe that kindness was magic, that even if you had nothing, a good heart was the greatest treasure. But despite Lila's big smile, something lingered in her mind: that sad man. She never saw him again. The image of his wet clothes, heavy eyes, and trembling voice stuck with her like a smudge on glass. Sometimes at night, she'd even dream of him sitting on that bench, lost in rain and memory. Her mom noticed the change. One night, she sat on the edge of Lila's bed and asked gently, "Still thinking about him, sweetheart?" Lila nodded. "I just want to know if he's okay." Her mom hugged her tight. "Maybe, just maybe, you helped him more than you'll ever know." And she had. Because somewhere across town, that very man, whose name no one knew, was slowly becoming a legend. People didn't see him, not clearly. He came and went like a whisper. A landlord forgave rent. A school lunch program suddenly got an anonymous donation. A neighbor with cancer found a stranger had paid her hospital bills. No one connected the dots, except Lila. One rainy afternoon, walking home from school, she saw something: a slip of paper taped to a lamppost near the bench where she met the stranger. Her heart skipped. It was the same kind of note she had given him, only this time, in neat handwriting, it read, "Kindness creates ripples that become waves. Thank you, little girl in yellow." Her eyes widened. It was him. He remembered. He was still watching, still changing. She raced home and told her mom. Her mom smiled again, but this time, the smile didn't quite reach her eyes. It was during the town's winter fundraiser that the truth began to unravel. The mayor announced that a mysterious benefactor had donated the entire cost of the event, a staggering amount that would feed over 300 families through the holidays. Whispers filled the room. Reporters tried to find out who was behind it, but no one came forward. Lila, sitting in the back with her mom, whispered, "It has to be him." Her mom gave her hand a squeeze. "Maybe it is, sweetheart." Then came the twist no one expected. The mayor pulled out an envelope and said, "Our donor left behind a letter, and a request to read it aloud." The room fell silent. The letter began, "There was a time when I had everything: a home, a daughter, a wife who laughed like music. Then, I made mistakes. I chose work over love, pride over apology, money over meaning. I lost them. First my marriage. Then, my daughter. She was taken from me in a custody case, and I never saw her again. I fell into darkness, became someone unrecognizable. I wandered for years, forgotten by the world, and deservedly so. I had given up, until one rainy day, a little girl in a yellow coat handed me a cookie and a note that said, 'You matter. Even if the world forgets you, someone still sees you.' That moment saved me. That child reminded me of who I used to be. And I have spent every day since trying to become a man worthy of that note." The mayor paused, voice cracking. He signed it, L.J. Lila gasped. L.J. Those were her initials, Lila Joy. It was as if he had named her in his letter. Her mother's face went pale. The crowd murmured, but something deep shifted in Lila's mom. She stood suddenly and pulled Lila close. "We need to go," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Now." Outside the town hall, in the cold wind, Lila stared up at her mom. "Do you know who he is?" Her mom looked torn between truth and fear, between past and present. Finally, tears welled in her eyes. "He's your grandfather, Lila." Lila's world spun. "What? But, you never told me I had a grandfather." Her mom knelt, hands trembling. "I didn't think you did. I thought he left." When I was 17, my father, your grandfather, chose his business over our family. When I got pregnant with you, he didn't even know. I left home and never looked back. I always believed he didn't care. But now I think he lost everything. Including me. And maybe he was broken for a long time. Until he met you. The realization hit like thunder. Lila hadn't just helped a stranger. She had helped her own grandfather. The man who thought he'd lost his family forever had unknowingly found his granddaughter through a simple act of kindness. Neither of them had known, but fate did. And fate had brought them together. Word of the mysterious donor spread. A local journalist tracked down someone who had seen LJ leaving supplies at a food shelter. The man had been driving an old pickup truck, license plate barely hanging, but eyes filled with something rare, peace. They traced him to a small cottage just outside town. Lila begged her mother to take her. Please, he needs to know who I am. Who we are. Her mom hesitated, then nodded. They drove through winding roads, snow falling gently like a blanket of forgiveness over everything. The cottage stood quiet, smoke curling from the chimney. Lila knocked, heart pounding. Footsteps. Then the door creaked open. And there he was. Older. Tired. But lighter, somehow. Hello? He asked. His eyes locked on Lila, and something flickered again, recognition. Then he saw the woman behind her. His voice broke. Amelia. Lila's mom stepped forward, tears spilling freely. Dad, he gasped. Is it really you? She nodded. And this, she pushed Lila forward, is your granddaughter. Lila Joy. He looked like he might collapse. His hands shook. His eyes flooded. Lila, Joy. He whispered. That's my mother's name. I gave it to Amelia when she was born. Lila ran to him and hugged him tight. He knelt down and wept into her shoulder, holding her like she was the last light in his world. That night, over cocoa and old photo albums, stories were shared. Forgiveness was poured out like warm tea. The man who had once lost everything now had a second chance, not just at redemption, but at family. And it had all begun because a little girl shared her only cookie without asking for anything in return. Lila had never imagined that kindness could change the course of someone's entire life. She had never dreamed that behind those sad eyes on the bench was the father her mother had lost, the grandfather she never knew existed. But now, here they were, 3 generations, mending what had once been shattered. All because one rainy day, she saw someone others ignored, and chose to give love instead of walking away. So, dear viewer, if this story has made you cry, or even just made you feel, remember this, you never know what a small act of kindness can do. You don't know who's watching, who's hurting, or how one good deed can rewrite someone's story. Be like Lila. Be the light. Be the hand that reaches out. And if this story touched your heart, please show it with a like. It helps spread this message to more people who might need it today. And don't forget to for more emotional, true-hearted stories that prove love, forgiveness, and kindness are still the most powerful forces in the world. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next story. If you thought Lila's act of kindness had already worked its miracle, just wait, because what happened after she reunited with her long-lost grandfather will leave you speechless, maybe even in tears. So settle in, keep your heart open, and get ready for the final chapter in a story that began with a single cookie and ended with a ripple across generations. And before we begin, if you believe kindness can change the world, please tap that like button and subscribe, because stories like this need to be heard. The snow hadn't stopped falling since that unforgettable night. Inside the small cottage, warmth filled the rooms, not just from the fire crackling in the hearth, but from something deeper. A healing that had taken root and started to bloom after years of silence, sorrow, and missed chances. Lila sat curled up on the old couch, wrapped in a hand-sewn quilt that smelled like cedar and cinnamon. Beside her, her grandfather, who she now called Papa J, was flipping through a dusty photo album, his fingers trembling as they passed over pictures of the past he thought he'd lost forever. Amelia, Lila's mother, sat across from them, a mug of tea in her hands, watching them with eyes that brimmed with the kind of emotion that words can't express, only time, regret, and reunion can. That night wasn't just a reunion. It was a rebirth, a homecoming, a promise that it's never too late to become who you were meant to be, not just for yourself, but for those you love. And slowly, quietly, their broken family began stitching itself back together. Jay, once just a sad stranger on a bench, began to show up in every way he could. He walked Lila to school when Amelia had an early shift. He baked cookies from an old family recipe, even if they came out crooked. He helped Amelia fix the broken fence in their backyard, and he told stories Lila had never heard before. Stories of her great-grandparents, of her mother's first bike ride, of the day Amelia had her first piano recital and forgot every note but still got a standing ovation. These were the pieces Lila had always wondered about, the blank spaces in her family tree finally filled with laughter, tears, and roots that went deeper than she ever imagined. But kindness, you see, doesn't stop once it starts. It's like a spark in dry grass. It spreads. And Papa J, inspired by Lila's pure heart, didn't just stop at mending his own family. He took what little he had and began something far bigger than himself. He created something called the Cookie Project, a small organization with one mission: to remind people they mattered. It started with simple brown bags, just like the one Lila had that day, each filled with a homemade cookie and a handwritten note. You matter. You are seen. You are loved. Today needs you. He and Lila would deliver them around town every weekend: bus stops, hospitals, shelters, nursing homes. Some people cried. Some hugged them. Some just smiled for the first time in days. It became a movement. People began joining in. Lila's school got involved. Local bakers volunteered. The mayor declared the last Saturday of each month Kindness Cookie Day. News spread. A local reporter who had followed the fundraiser story now returned to do a full feature on the Cookie Project. When she interviewed Lila, she asked, "Why do you do this?" Lila, holding her grandfather's hand, smiled and said, "Because one cookie saved someone's life. Maybe this one will save another." The segment went viral. Donations poured in. Letters arrived from across the country. One girl in Idaho sent a picture of herself holding a cookie with the same message Lila had once given: "You matter," and wrote, "I was going to run away. But then I saw your story. I didn't feel invisible anymore." Another man in Georgia wrote, "I'm a veteran. I haven't smiled in 5 years. Your cookie made me remember what hope tastes like." And just like that, the little girl who gave her only cookie away became the founder of a kindness revolution. But fate wasn't done. One spring afternoon, as Lila and Papa J were sorting cookies for delivery, a knock came at the cottage door. A woman stood there, elegant, nervous, clutching a letter. Jay froze when he saw her. "Claire," he whispered. Lila's heart thumped. Claire, that was her grandmother's name. The woman nodded, tears filling her eyes. "I saw the story, on the news. I had to come." Amelia stepped out, stunned. 3 generations were suddenly face to face with the one person they'd believed had vanished into memory. Claire explained how, after the divorce, she'd tried to stay in touch, but letters were lost, and grief built walls between them. She never remarried. She'd kept a photo of Amelia beside her bed for 20 years. And when she saw Lila on TV, looking so much like her mother at that age, something shattered in her heart. She had to find them. It was awkward at first. Pain doesn't leave without a fight. But kindness had taught them patience. Papa J stepped forward, voice shaking. "I failed you once. I won't fail again. We have a chance to be whole. Please, stay." Claire did. And slowly, something extraordinary happened. The family no one thought would ever come back together did. Sunday dinners returned. Lila learned to play piano from her grandmother. The cottage that once held only silence now rang with music, laughter, and the clinking of dishes shared over stories that started with,